Easterners commonly complain that there is no weather at all in Southern California, that the days and seasons slip by relentlessly, numbingly bland. That is quite misleading. In fact, the climate is characterized by infrequent but violent extremes. Two periods of torrential subtropical rains which continue for weeks and wash out the hills and send subdivisions sliding toward the sea, and about 20 scattered days a year of the Santa Ana, which, with its incendiary dryness, invariably means fire. At the first prediction of a Santa Ana, the Forest Service flies men and equipment from Northern California into the southern forests, and the Los Angeles Fire Department cancels its ordinary non-firefighting routines. The Santa Ana caused Malibu to burn, as it did in 1956, and Bel Air in 1961, and Santa Barbara in 1964. In the winter of 1966 to 67, 11 men were killed fighting a Santa Ana fire that spread through the San Gabriel Mountains. Just to watch the front page news out of Los Angeles during a Santa Ana is to get very close to what it is about the place. The longest single Santa Ana period in recent years was 1957, and it lasted not the usual 3 or 4 days, but 14 days, from November 21 until December 4. On the first day, 25,000 acres of the San Gabriel Mountains were burning, with gusts reaching 100 miles an hour. In town, the wind reached force 12, or hurricane force on the Beaufort scale. Oil derricks were toppled and people ordered off the downtown streets to avoid injury from flying objects. On November 22, the fire in the San Gabriels was out of control. On November 24, 6 people were killed in automobile accidents, and by the end of the week, the Los Angeles Times was keeping a box score of traffic deaths. On November 26, a prominent Pasadena attorney, depressed about money, shot and killed his wife, their 2 sons, and himself. On November 27, a Southgate divorcee, 22, was murdered and thrown from a moving car. On November 30, the San Gabriel fire was still out of control, and the wind in town was blowing 80 miles an hour. On the first day of December, 4 people died violently, and on the 3rd, the wind began to break. It is hard for people who have not lived in Los Angeles to realize how radically the Santa Ana figures in the local imagination. The city burning is Los Angeles's deepest image of itself. Nathaniel West perceived that in the Day of the Locust, and at the time of the 1965 Watts riots, what struck the imagination most indelibly were the fires. For days, one could drive the Harbor Freeway and see the city on fire, just as we had always known it would be in the end. Los Angeles weather is the weather of catastrophe, of apocalypse, and just as reliably long and bitter winters of New England determine the way life is lived there, so the violence and the unpredictability of the Santa Ana affect the entire quality of life in Los Angeles, accentuate its impermanence, its unreliability. The winds show us how close to the edge we are. Oh, Joan, Auntie Joan, if only you could see us now. It's going to get so much worse.
When the wind picked up, the fire spread, and the grapevine seemed left for dead, and the northern sky looked like the end of days, the end of days. And a wake-up call to a rented room sounded like an alarm of impending doom, to warn us it's only a matter of time before we all burn. Before we all burn, before we all burn, before we all burn, heart.